Nietzsche and the death of God. Friedrich Nietzsche would be correct in saying today that God's death has not yet reached the ears of men. He originally described the Western society in which he lived using this statement, commenting on the fact that even though influential thinkers had begun to question God and the popularity of Christianity was wavering, all of the institutions and values built upon a Christian foundation were still standing. It's clear that Western Europe has and will always have ways in which Christianity impacts upon it, and therefore Nietzsche's claim that the death of God has not yet reached the ears of men still rings true today. Nietzsche uses the death of God to highlight the effect that Enlightenment thought has had on Christianity and its slow decline. He goes on to describe the effect that this decline will have on Western European society as a whole. He argues that our moral laws, natural laws, and our sense of self is all founded on the idea and the teachings of God and Christianity. Without the foundations of the Church, these ideals that Europeans hold dear start to lose value and no longer become viable. These institutions are still in place today, highlighting the fact that Christian ideology, though not overtly, still exists in modern society in some ways. Nietzsche argues that if we can eradicate these belief systems that are still ingrained in our society, we can create a world that is much better in its application of moral laws. By disregarding these values built on falsehoods, he describes a world that humans will be able to become fully developed, dependent on their own understanding of life and moral law. He describes these people as Übermensch. However, it's clear that there will never be a truly post-Christian society in the way that Nietzsche describes it. He writes, "God is dead, but given the way of men, there may still be caves for thousands of years in which his shadow will be shown. And we still have to vanquish his shadow too." It's apparent that this reasoning is flawed, and that we will never exist in a society that is truly post-God. By virtue of God's existence, every thought, idea, and understanding of the world comes as a result of his existence and subsequent death. To become an Übermensch is to have been created in a society that has never experienced any form of religion, which seems impossible. Nietzsche was aware that he was speaking from a point of view tainted by God's existence, his father having been a minister. It's clear that in some way, in a very metaphorical way, all of our fathers are ministers, and we can never escape our innate bias. Overall, it's not only clear that God's death has not yet reached the ears of men, but humans will never fully understand and move on from God's death. Just as God was ingrained into Nietzsche's society, so too is he still apparent in the makeup of our own society, and therefore every version of society in the future.